Pastor Evelyn Joshua landed in South Africa, and you bet she has pulled a very large audience over to whatever venue. I'm not sure what venue exactly they are holding this thingy, and she has pulled a huge audience. Now, when I did announce that she was coming, I did mention also that there was a question I wanted to ask. And I think today I'm going to ask this particular thing, this particular question, not because I don't like Evelyn or anything like that, but it's a question that stands in my head very loudly. Now, she pulled a large audience. Just after I got born again, I became an usher in my church, and absolutely loved it. It taught me service very much well. The things that people do when they get to church without realizing, Raymond, there is people that sets these chairs. And also by just looking at a crowd, I can pretty much gauge how large an audience is. And the church that I was in that particular thing was almost like maybe just about this here, right here. And that number was like almost about 2,000, just right here. It would be about 2,000 people. Right here, it was about 2,000. It was 2,000 about people in that church. And so this easily reaches 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 all the way back to down here. It easily gets to about 10,000. Something that I find quite interesting. I wanted to ask this question. When Evelyn took over synagogue, there was a whole court thing that she went on a push for, and finally got a hold of the order that she could take over the whole thing, right? And then she went away for like a bit. It was like a bit where she was not thinking. And the first thing they did when she came out was to show that the miracles were there. They were not showing like, okay, she's teaching biblical doctrine. That was not it. If you remember back when Evelyn took over synagogue of all nations, the first thing they were trying to highlight was miracles are here. So that's approval. That was like the first thing that they were looking at. And it was, she was spraying people with water and whatnot, like the whole nine just that they do over there. So they were trying to say, because of miracles, it's approval. It's kind of like how the Jews used to rate whether God was with a person that would use wealth and whatnot. They used to all these material things. So when they called her Pastor Evelyn Joshua, it wasn't because she was ordained. Okay? I just want to clarify that part there. When they called her Pastor Evelyn Joshua, no hate at all. It's something that I tend to wonder when I see around church folk and all that kind of stuff and whatnot. I have that question sometimes. Like right here. When you put the screen up right here, you'll see they address it as Pastor Evelyn Joshua. Like, Evelyn was not ordained. There was no point where she was ordained. See, so I follow most of the stories. That's not even, Ricky just hates. No, it's not even hate. I follow most of the stories. I don't remember Evelyn being ordained. When did that happen? I think there was something that they said concerning that. I just can't remember exactly what it was because it's been a while of that. But I don't know if they were trying to make it that the Holy Spirit has approved her. She doesn't need human approval. They went on a whole thing. But Evelyn right now is known as Pastor Evelyn Joshua. She was not ordained. TB Joshua is pretty much the same. He says, when were you born again? I was born again in my mother's womb. That's not how this works. you know, that's where you kind of like appreciate when people clarify those particular things. Like, hey, you know what? Not a pastor because I'm not ordained, or ta 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 ta. Now, there are people that tend to have an issue with that. Like, no, why should you be? No, you see, church authority functions like that. The same way, when you are a doctor, you are recognized by a body of of an organization. This is a doctor, got his certificates from this, and if he mishandles his authority, his license can be revoked, can't practice. A lawyer, it's pretty much the same thing. Can't practice law, recognized by these bodies, blah, 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 blah. Even church, it's actually supposed to be like that. You see, Paul speaks and hints at this thing to say that when he went, it was in recognition of doctrine to them. Not that he needed human approval, but he highlights human approval. He highlights it in that he walked with certain people. He stated people he wasn't walking with. He was very clear about people that were deviating and not in alignment with what doctrine was being upheld. He spoke about false apostles. Do you get what I mean? Church structure functions like that. It functions like that. People know that. That's why people made a huge fuss. It's not that people hated TB Joshua. No. It's not that they hated the guy. No. Church authority functions like that. People recognize the person, recognize the person, recognize the person, recognize the person. Right? And so, for example, this channel doesn't just expose false doctrine or false teaching and false churches and all them kind of things, but we also teach that. And so you can validate the doctrine, well stated, publicly. We have private groups where we teach, and freely so. But we have public teaching. You can go online and see, okay, doctrinally this is what they state, Why? Church approves content, church approves doctrine based, you can see it publicly. We've done entire studies on singular subjects, and whether it be salvation, rapture, what, and so you can see. You submit it out there. You don't just teach it privately. You submit it out there so that the body can convert the subject matters that are being spoken of. So that's on a doctrinal level. That's not that we need human approval. Yes, but it's important that we be recognized. Like when the other gentleman who was saying that I'm making up doctrines, right? When he came up with that claim, I didn't just say, hey, I didn't just read the Bible. You'll notice. I didn't just read the Bible and left it at that. I showed other biblical scholars that recognize the teaching exactly as I spoke about it. To say, I didn't make this up. This is church written stuff. This is biblical material. You just got to study outside of what you think. And so, Pastor Evelyn Joshua was not ordained. She's Pastor Evelyn Joshua. She's now recognized as Pastor Evelyn Joshua, but she was not ordained. Where did that happen? Now, someone will say, okay, so now should people be, does that mean that everybody that's thingy, it's, yeah, now listen to the thing. I can't wake up and say I'm pastor tomorrow, and you don't know what body of church did that. You need to know what body of church did that. Yes, it's the responsibility of the church to know that. You're a pastor. Who ordained you? Oh, what? You woke up and you're a pastor? It doesn't work like that. Now, let's understand also, yes, there is people that will pastor a church because they have a passion and love for the gospel, and they have the gift. You can clearly see, but they still must be recognized under a church or a body of thingy. So that's why you'll see a lot of churches start up, and the pastor is just by himself. He just went out and started preaching, but then he would align himself with certain churches that recognize their doctrine and so forth. This is how church authority functions. That's why I am not a fan of these churches that only recognize their churches. It gets dicey because, wait, you're not recognized outside of your church? Like, for instance, I'm just giving an example, not necessarily this one. Pastor Chris, for example, he only preaches in Christ Embassy thingy. You'd hardly see him going out. Yes, he did went out and go to Abu Benihins and what. You know, those ones we can question. But it's good to see that it's a problem when you only preach in your churches. Makananisa, for example, he only preaches in his churches. I've never seen him anywhere else. Maybe he might have been here and there, you know. I see people wanting to align with him. I've never seen him anywhere else, except in his own thing. That's important because when you see other churches that align with things, so you can see, okay, they've vetted the doctrines of the mandem. That's how church authority functions. When you see people that want to remain isolated, Jim Jones type of things, it's a red flag. Be very careful. Why? Because they don't want their doctrine vetted. That's how you'll see Prophet Suddenly, when he starts in Prophet Suddenly 2, you will notice when he starts growing the ministry and he steps into error, the first thing he does is what? He wants to go to a church. He gives large sums of money so that he can be recognized under a church thing. That's how church thingy. They are showing you they get it. There has to be recognition by other churches. When was Evelyn ordained? By who? It doesn't make you less of a thingy, no, but who ordained you? Structured show daily Christian commentary videos. Yeah, those type of questions, when we ask those type of questions, look at Timothy. Timothy is told in the Bible, commit these things to devoted men. So devote these particular studies, doctrines and all this kind of stuff. Devote this to men who are devoted to thingy, who will give it to. So you can see there's a line of. So if you are a pastor and you just start a church in the village, yes, good and well. You know, and I remember this a while back when I started doing apologetics. I remember a pastor calling us. He was just a pastor who had started his church, and he started calling us to his ministry in Kwatwa. It was all the way in Kwatwa, and it was the first time I had gotten a thingy. Why? Because he understood the importance of being recognized with a line of churches, you know, and then through the invitation that he had called us, he then wanted to align with the churches that we aligned with and whatnot. But if you know my testimony of how I started doing ministry work, you'll know that I didn't used to do this by myself. I was with other guys, you know. And so he aligned with that church and that's church structure. When you see people that want to, like Daniel, they're just always doing their own thing. It's a red flag. Like, why is it that your doctrine is not vetted outside? And I'm not talking about your spiritual sons. Why can't other churches recognize your doctrine? It gets dicey. We only see people want to align with you, but who do you align with? Structurality show, the daily Christian commentary videos. Other episodes down today, they'll be down in the pinned comments. Y'all tell me your thoughts. You see those ones? Those are sensitive conversations. People don't like them type of conversation. Y'all tell me your thoughts down in the comment section.